Hi, friends. Welcome to episode 2 of the Living Mandala podcast. So my name is Aura, and I'm your guide for this adventure. So the Living Mandala podcast is, of course, an offshoot of my consulting practice, Living Mandala Consulting. And today's episode is going to be all about something that's near and dear to my heart, extremely practical, and it's at the core of my offerings. And that is space clearing, energetic space clearing. And so I'm going to kind of walk us through the method that I use. I won't get into every last detail because, well, then we just might as well be getting together and doing it. But I'm going to walk you through, kind of a basic space clearing method, why it's important, why you should care, why this is a helpful practice for you in your life. It's very practical. My background, my undergraduate degree is in chemistry. So, I studied in great detail, sort of the subatomic realms of reality, physics, lots of chemistry. But then my master's degree is in metaphysics, metaphysic adjacent topics. So, my background sort of informs how I feel about space clearing and how I understand space clearing and how I think it works. I really do. And so I'm delighted to share, this process with you. I'm going to give you a little bit of background, though, on my particular method. I've been doing it for about 24 years or so. I've been, performing space clearings. I first learned about space clearing out of a book. It was a book by Karen Kingston. She's sort of the world's foremost authority on space clearing. And she's got a book called Creating Sacred Space with Feng Shui. It was kind of my introduction into this world. I bought this book, 100 years ago at a bookstore, and she made the process seem so approachable and so easy and so obvious. And so I did it, and I immediately saw results. Of course I did. And then over the years, of course, I've refined my process. I've studied other methods. I've introduced other methods. I've kind of worked up my own space clearing protocol, for lack of a better word. And so I'm going to share that with you today. But I do believe in giving credit where credit is due. And so I'm eternally grateful to this book, Creating Sacred Space with Feng Shui by Karen Kingston. It is the OG source for me. The analogy that I use when thinking about space clearing is that of a blackboard, right? So those of us at a certain age, we remember blackboards, and you know how it goes. The teacher, you would write on the blackboard and you would sort of erase it and write and erase, write and erase. But the truth of the matter is you could always kind of see the words that were there on the blackboard from last week or whenever. And so periodically you would have to come in. Usually somebody was assigned this task. You'd come in with a bucket and a sponge. And it would be somebody's job to deep clean the blackboard, wipe out the tray, go bang the erasers outside, remove any and all evidence of writing. And so then the teacher would have, a fresh, clean blackboard. So this is kind of the analogy that I think of, except it's like an energetic blackboard, right? So the vibration of our thoughts, of course, our voices, our actions, they ripple through our spaces, and these vibrations, they land somewhere, they stop somewhere. And oftentimes that's the furniture, it's the walls, it's, they get lodged. And so there's a process by which you can address and dislodge and clear out stuck, vibrational energy, of an energetic quality in your home. And so, once you do a space clearing, using that same analogy of a blackboard, you've wiped your energetic blackboard clean. And now you can write new messages to yourself and use it as a, kind of a rebirthing process, reacquainting yourself with your home. Our home is about 100 years old. And so, there was 80 years worth of people living here prior to us even purchasing this home. So we've been here 20 years. 23 years actually. And but for 80 years, people lived in this home before us. And so every argument, every shout of victory, every celebration, every negative thought is, it goes somewhere. And so over the 23 years that I've lived in this home, I've done space clearings numerous times. I try to do it at least a few times a year in my 100-year-old home. You might live in a situation where you've got a lot more maintenance to do. Maybe you need to do it monthly. I do it about quarterly or so. So anyway, before you begin your space clearing venture, you've got to first declutter and clean your space, right? This is really important because, that's really setting optimal conditions for the space clearing to work. So, there's going to be an extensive purging process you may have to go through. There is, some deep cleaning. Take the time to deep clean your house. Take out the trash. Take out the recycling. Deep clean your toilet. Sweep, vacuum, dust. Go through your clothes. Take everything out that you don't want to be a part of the clearing process. Now, that's a whole other kettle of fish, right? Thinking about what all you still need to go through to sort of get ready for space clearing. So, I have found that for me, it does work better if the space is as clean and clear and decluttered as possible before you begin. Now, I have done it a few times where I have cleared a space energetically before deep cleaning and cluttering. Sometimes space clearing in those situations can literally act like a stick of dynamite, and it can dislodge all the invisible stuff in such a way that the physical stuff has nowhere to go except be dealt with. But I don't really advise that in general. In general, I do think this process works best if the space is clean, clear, decluttered as best as possible. Optimal conditions. All right, so here goes. There's some preliminary instructions that I advise. I advise folks to remove all jewelry from your body, all of it, your rings, your necklaces, your earrings, bracelets, anklets, any kind of jewelry you have on. Metals hold a charge, and so you're going to take that jewelry off, and you're not going to have it on your body. You're going to smudge it at the end, and you can put it all right back on. Don't freak out, but don't wear jewelry while you're doing space clearing. I think this process is also done best when you are barefoot. So we have several eyes on our body. We have eyes in our face, right? We have those two that we see the world with. We also have eyes in our hands. They can see and sense energy. You can see and sense energy through your hands. You can also see and sense energy through your bare feet. I think of them as eyes. I think of there being eyes on my feet, eyes on my hands, two eyes in my head, and then, of course, that third eye of intuition. So, open all your eyes. Take off your shoes. There's going to be a point in the process where you're going to have to wash your hands. So I'm saying this out loud so that, you can wash all of the energy, all the juju, if you will, that you stir up, you wash it off of your body. So we'll get to that. I'm saying it though now because it's important. You're going to breathe. You're going to breathe consciously throughout this process. You're going to drink a lot of water throughout the clearing process, and you're going to turn off music. You're going to turn off your phone. You're going to turn off all of your screened devices, okay? No distractions. This is the focus, is clearing. All right, so you're going to do a setup, all right? There's a lot of supplies that you need. I'm going to say them out loud. You need small disposable aluminum pans. They're the ones that you do, mini loaves of bread. Okay, you need one of those little disposable pans for each room of the house. I want you to include bathrooms. I want you to include entry halls. I usually include hallways, but I don't include closets usually. So I don't usually include closets as one of the quote unquote rooms of the house. So I don't recommend that. But you need a little pan for each room. You're going to need some Epsom salt. You're going to need some 91% proof isopropyl alcohol. It's got to be 91% proof. There's 70%, there's other percentages, but you need 91% proof because you've got to burn it. You need matches or a lighter. You're going to need some sort of smudging herbs. The common ones that I use sage, I use Palo Santo, I use mugwort, I use wormwood. You need to pick an herb to smudge with. The technology is the same, and sure, absolutely, it matters the herb that you choose. Maybe I'll do an episode in the future about, the differences between all of the smudging herbs that I use, but they all work, they're all effective, and they're going to all achieve the same ends in terms of, smoking, right? So choose one that you really like and that maybe you're comfortable with. And again, maybe we'll talk about different smudging herbs in the future, but pick one for now that you like. You're going to need some rose water. You're going to need a bell. You're going to need a good bell. Okay, I rang my bell at the top of this episode. I'm going to ring it again. You need a really good bell. Don't skimp on your bell. I've got a source that I can post in the show notes for a really good bell, but not just any old bell is going to do. Okay, you've got to have a good bell. It's got to have a clean tone to it. Okay, sometimes you have bells that are made with different types of alloys, and so they sound a little bit like warbly. They'll have like a wah 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 wah. That's not so good, right? So be picky. Be very picky about your bell. Go shop for your bell. Make it a whole trip to find a good bell. Okay. You're going to need altar supplies for each room. Again, just like the little pans, you're going to need altar supplies for each room of your home. And what are the altar supplies? Well, it starts with some sort of tablecloth and or doily. You're going to have one altar that's going to be kind of your main base camp altar, if you will, but then all the other little rooms, you can just use doilies. Okay, but you're going to need some sort of cloth, right? You're going to need a small plate that's going to serve as the base of each mini altar. I use my grandmother's china. I like it. It makes me feel connected to her. I use like the dessert plates as my little altars. That's what I use. You're going to need a tea light candle for each altar. You're going to need flowers with water, okay, for each altar. You're going to need coins, rocks, crystals, anything like that. I like to put a little scoop of dirt on each of my altars. So, my altars, and you can get creative. Honestly, you can make your little altars be whatever you want. You just want them to be really beautiful, okay? I tend to use the 5 elements on my altars, okay? So I've got fire, right? I've got wood, which sort of shows up in the form of the flowers. I've got water, because that's what the flowers are in. I've got earth, from the backyard, and I've got metal. So those are the 5 elements that I use, but you may want to use your own configuration of elementals for your altars. So you're going to need one big main altar. Make it your biggest, baddest, most beautiful one, but then you're going to need a little mini altar for each of the rooms, right? So you're going to gather all your supplies, okay? And first things first, you're going to build all your altars, all right? And so what do? You lay down a napkin. You put the plate on top of the napkin. I like to put a little pile of my earth, my dirt, and I set the tea light right on top of that, okay? Sometimes I'll pour a little bit of water into the plate, and then I'll place my flowers attractively around the candle flame, kind of just laying in the water. And then I'll scatter coins. I have a collection of coins from travels all over the world. So I feel like it brings that's just like good far-flung, from all 4 corners of the earth energy through the metal, into each of my altars. So that's what I do. But you're going to need to make a little mini altar for each room. Place the altars in each room, somewhere where it's going to be safe, where the flame isn't going to catch anything on fire, but somewhere that's like prominently located, right? So in some rooms, I might put the little mini altar like on a dresser. If I'm in a bathroom, I might put the little mini altar. I'll put the toilet lid down and I'll put it on the toilet, on the back of the toilet. Sometimes I'll put them, if it's a big room and there's no obvious place, sometimes I'll just kind of put it somewhere in the middle of the room, just on the floor. Totally fine. Just each room is going to have its own mini altar. And then the big altar is going to be just the same as all those, but it's going to have all your supplies, okay? It's going to have your matches, your lighter, your smudging materials. It's going to have your alcohol. It's going to have all of that stuff that you need there at your big, badass main altar. Usually I will do that altar in the dining room of a home, simply because that's usually where the biggest table is. And so that tends to be my staging area. That's how I do it. All right, so once you've got all your supplies, you've put altars, little mini altars in every room, you've set up your big badass altar, right, with all your materials, then you are going to begin the space clearing, and it's quite a process. So I'm going to describe it as best as I can. Hopefully you can follow along. So after you've gathered everything, you've placed all your altars, you're going to start at the front door. You always start at the front entrance of the home. That's the mouth of chi, the mouth of energy to the home. Whether or not you use your front door or not, it doesn't matter. The front door is the mouth of chi to your home. You're going to start at the front door, and you're going to move clockwise. You're going to follow the walls into the corners, and you're just going to hug, essentially, the outline of your home as best you can. You're just going to hug it, and you're going to assess. No judgment at all. You're barefoot, remember, you don't have any jewelry on, and you're just noticing what you notice. You're going to notice smells. Okay, you're going to notice temperature changes. You're going to notice how the sound might shift from area to area. You poke your head in a closet, that sounds really different than the kitchen, right? You're just going to notice what you notice. No judgment. You're going to feel the space. You're going to include closets. You're going to include cabinets in your space assessment. All right, so you're going to assess in a clockwise direction, noticing whatever it is you notice. Okay, then you're going to begin the purification processes. And there are several. I say processes because there are several. They start from the very rough and they move to the very refined. Okay, so the first purification process that you're going to do is going to be loud clapping. Okay, and so what does that mean? You're basically busting up stagnant energy. You're going to put a lot of attention and energy into the corners, and you're going to move counterclockwise through the house. So while you did your assessment in a clockwise direction, you're going to do your stirring up of the energy, if you will, in a counterclockwise direction. It's sort of like petting a cat the wrong way, right? You're going to stir it up. And so you're going to clap, and you're going to move floor to ceiling, clapping out the space. You're going to break up heaviness. You're going to disperse it. Do not forget the closets. Okay, do not forget, the areas under your sink. Don't forget your cabinets. Leave no stone unturned when you're clapping out your space. This should take you a good while. Okay, this is probably the most active part. You're going to be out of breath. You're going to need water when this is done, and you're going to need to wash your hands all the way up to your elbows with soap and water. Okay, and when you pull the water off, you're going to pull it off of your fingertips. Okay, you're going to like milk your arms and your hands, and you're going to pull all that gunk that you just stirred up in your whole house. You're going to pull it off of you when you wash your hands and arms up to your elbow. Okay, so this is the most active part. This is purification through loud clapping. Now, a few years ago, I fell into a fire. It was horrible, and I burned my hands to a crisp. And so I don't clap anymore, really. It hurts too much. And so the alternative that I'll give you is you can use a rattle, okay, a maraca. You can use a rattle of some sort. Clapping is best. I will say I use a rattle now these days, but clapping is in fact best. It is the superior method. All right, next thing, we're going to purify through salt, okay? And this is what this looks like. So You're going to take those little disposable mini bread pans, and you're going to put about, I don't know, a couple tablespoons of Epsom salt into each one. You're going to place one of these Epsom salt pans into each room, and then you're going to go from room to room to room to room, and you're going to pour, I don't know, maybe a couple teaspoons, okay, not a lot, of 91% alcohol onto the little piles of salt that are in the pans. And you're going to set that on fire. Now, there are some safety concerns. Typically there are, typically, I haven't seen it anyway, where you have to worry about what's underneath. But if you have any concern whatsoever about carpet or your nice hardwood floors or whatever, feel free to place a book underneath your burning pan of salt, okay? And so you're going to, if you go that way, you're going to put a book down, you're going to put your little pan down. Remember, it's got 2 tablespoons of salt. You're going to pour about 2 teaspoons of alcohol onto that salt. You're going to close the lid to the alcohol, okay? Important. You're going to light it, and you're going to go to the next room, and the next room, and the next room, and the next room. And you're going to monitor these, okay? You're going to make sure that these burning pans of salt, they're not near anything that can catch fire. They're not near curtains. They're not in a situation where they can tump over. Typically, I do put the salt pans on the floor. Denser energies do tend to settle. Remember, we just stirred up tons of energy in the space, and anything that's the lowest vibration is going to be closer to the floor. And so you light these pans of salt on fire. These are very effective. These sort of act like vortices. Each one is a vortex that just sort of burns and incinerates and sucks in whatever it is, the invisibility that you have stirred up, right? So you're going to do the salt. Burn the salt. The next step is you're going to purify through smudging. So, again, we've stirred up tons of energy. You've burned salt at this point, and you're going to smudge now. And you're going to do this also counterclockwise, right? I smudge floor to ceiling. And so I light my Palo Santo. Let's say we're using Palo Santo. I light my Palo Santo. Palo Santo, the trick is you got to let it burn, and then you blow it out. So it's got a lot of smoke. And I will use my mind, I will use my eyes, and I will go floor to ceiling, paying particular attention to the corners. You're going to go floor to ceiling, and you're going to use your mind and your eyes to follow the smoke. You're going to actually send your intention to merge with the smoke, to merge with the invisible energy. You're going to open your doors, you're going to open your windows, and you're going to invite all of that to leave your house, okay? Again, use sage, use Palo Santo, you can use mugwort, wormwood, whatever it is that you work with. They each have their own amazing properties, and I highly advise that you research your options in advance if you're in any way unsure. Palo Santo is always a good way to go, though. All right, so we've done the clapping and rattling, we've done the burning of salt, we've done the smudging, okay? Now we're going to begin some of the more, what I would say, softer techniques, all right? We're going to do purification through holy water. I use a rose spray that I buy like at Whole Foods. You want to get the one that's just rose water, not rose water and glycerin, so just the rose water. And with this one, you're going to move clockwise. And again, you're going to follow the edge of the house, move clockwise, follow the edge of the house, just like you've been doing. And you're just simply going to spritz the rose water. All right. The final purification method is with bell vibration. You're going to go clockwise, again, hugging from the front door, go clockwise, hugging the perimeter of the house, follow, all the way back to the front door. And again, a high quality bell. Be extremely choosy with your bell. This is a vibration that is going to penetrate your furniture, your walls, every nook and cranny of your space. You need to know the alloy that it's made of. Mine is a gold alloy, actually. It's got gold in it, and it's part of the reason why it sounds so good. But be very choosy about your bell. You're going to ring inside closets. You're going to ring inside cabinets. Okay. You're going to do every nook and cranny of your home. All right. Next step is we're going to shield and anchor the house. Again, starting from the mouth of Chi, which is your front door, you're going to move in a clockwise direction. And how this technique works is you're going to place you're going to, first of all, plant your feet flat on the floor. You're going to place your left hand on your solar plexus. You're going to have your right arm down to your side. Your right arm is also known in martial arts as your sword arm. So you're going to like literally envision that it's a sword or a magic wand or something like that. So left hand's on your solar plexus, your power center in your body. Your right arm is down at your side. You're going to inhale your right arm up to the sky, okay? And on the exhale, you're going to make eye contact with the next corner, okay? Moving clockwise, you're going to make eye contact with the corner, and you're going to send your energy out your sword arm as you exhale down, and you're going to like literally bring your arm down and point it to the corner that you're looking at, okay? Then you're going to like walk over to that corner, and you're going to do the same thing. You're going to, turn 90 degrees, left hand on your solar plexus, right arm down. You're going to inhale your right arm up to the sky, and you're going to bring it down as you make eye contact to the next corner on the exhale. Now, it's a breathing technique, okay? But it's also a visualization technique. And the visualization that I use when I'm shielding a space is I use pink light. Okay, it's kind of like the color of like rose quartz, maybe. I use a pink light in my visualization. It's what I advise others to use as well. There are other colors you can work with. I've heard of working with, the color violet. I've heard of working with the color white, the color gold. There are certain colors. Do your research, but pink is my default. You cannot go wrong with rose quartz pink light when you're doing this process. And the shielding, you can think of it two different ways. You can think of it as if like you're casting like some sort of pink amethyst, like a pink rose quartz crystal type like dome over your house. That's one way you can think of it. You can also think of it as it's like you're casting a pink emanation that is emanating out of your space that ultimately functions like a dome, okay? But it's really an emanation. It's not a containment. Instead, it's an emanation. I tend to lean towards the emanation method in my visualization, but please know if it's easier for you, the dome method also is fine. It's totally fine. The point is that you are creating a pale pink rose quartz vibrational color field in your space. Okay, so whether it's a shield like a dome or whether it's an emanation of light, that's up to you. But I will say that I tend to do the emanation version of that. All right, so you're going to go clockwise with that. You're shielding your space. Now you're going to do one last time of assessing the house, right? So just like you did at the very beginning, you've got your two eyes on your face, you've got your two eyes in your hands, you've got your two eyes on your feet. Of course, you've got your third eye. You're going to assess your space again. So you're going to do that one last lap, right, through your house. And you're going to notice what you notice, right? Has the smell changed? Have the sounds changed? Do some areas like not feel as stuffy as they did? You're just going to notice what you notice. And this is where people are often astonished, for sure. But sometimes people are like literally shocked. They're like, what just happened? Because it is palpable. There's something happening through all of these modalities, right? The rattling, the clapping, the smudging, the bell vibration, the rose visualization, the rose spray. There's something that's happening with all of those modalities on some sort of like, I don't know, subatomic level. And your space shifts. It shifts. And by default, you shift. All the stuff in your house shifts. Something shifts, right? When you clear your house, you're also clearing yourself. You yourself are also benefiting from, the smudging and the spraying and the rattling and the clapping and the bell. Your body, your sack of blood and bones is also feeling and absorbing those same modalities and vibrations. And so oftentimes we ourselves who are doing the clearing feel better when we clear a space, because we have also by default cleared ourselves, right? So you've put a lot of effort in, you've lit all these candles, you have all these beautiful altars, you've done all this stuff, you've cleaned your blackboard, right? You've essentially cleaned your blackboard, your energetic blackboard. Now is the time, this is the final step, this is the time to say your intentions, okay? Say them out loud. This is a good time if you want to sing a hymn, or if you want to read, some sort of invocation, if you want to read a poem. This is the time to write something fresh, to state your desires, right? To say them out loud and know from your experience, from what you have just completed, from your experience that the words coming out of your mouth, the vibrations of your thoughts, they are also going into your furniture, your sheetrock, your rugs, right? They are vibrating through your body. So be choosy about what you want to read when it's time to say your intentions. Oftentimes I will just sort of wax philosophic and say, kind of organically things that I would hope and desire for the home that I'm clearing, wishes of peace, of safety, of security, of joy, things like that. You can also just speak from your heart, right? There's no pressure to find the perfect poem if that's not, kind of your jam. Now, in terms of all those little altars that are all over your house, just let the candles burn out, okay? They're tea light candles. They're not going to burn forever. Let them burn out completely, all right? And once all the candles have burned out, go around and clean up all your altars. You can toss, the flowers that you've chopped up and put on your altars. You can toss those into your yard. You can dump the earth back into your yard. Collect all your coins again. Wash the plates, obviously, before you put them back in the cabinet. Wash all your plates really good. In terms of the little pans of salt, those pans are completely unusable. You cannot reuse those ever again. This is, it's kind of a bummer, that it's creating a little bit of waste here, but it's going to be worth it, believe me. So the pans of salt, though, here's the deal. Those continue to absorb gunk, I would say, for a while. So leave your pans of salt, if you can tolerate it, leave them out for around 24 hours. They'll continue working. They'll continue doing their magic. You don't have to burn the salt to have this work. Burning it just like accelerates the process and creates that little vortex that I was talking about earlier. But after 24 hours, collect those and toss those. You cannot keep those. Space clearing, really it's going to be a part of an overall personal hygiene in your home. In my mind, this is sort of similar to like mopping or cleaning the toilet. It's not something that you do every day. But you know how it is, like if you don't clean your toilet for a week or two, you're like, okay, it's time to clean the toilet. And I know some people out there maybe don't even do it that often, but space clearing, really it's a part of a periodic maintenance, right? Just like your teacher used to, at the beginning of the month or the beginning of the quarter, or even the beginning of the semester, your teacher would make somebody in the classroom clean that blackboard and go, hit the erasers outside on the side of the school or whatever. You've got to do this periodically, particularly if you live in an older home, And, space clearing, what it does is it creates room for more energy. It creates room for fresh, vital energy to come in and infiltrate your space. And, pay attention to the words you're saying out loud in your space. Pay attention to the activities that you do in your space. Pay attention, because all of that vibration is in an ongoing way, being absorbed into your home, into your walls, into your sheetrock. And so, pay attention, and you'll get to the point, I promise you, if you do this for the next couple years, you do it maybe 2 or 3 times a year, you'll notice like, oh, I just had a big ass fight with my husband. I need to do a clearing. And so sometimes that'll be your cue, to have a clearing. Clearings are good, after an illness. So let's say you get COVID or something like that, and you're sick for a few weeks. Once you get your energy back, doing a clearing is really helpful after an illness. It's helpful after or before even a big life transition. If you know that like you're going to be leaving a job, some kind of big transition like that, space clearing can really help amplify that whole process and make it a little bit more sparkly and vital. So it's a helpful thing to do, at big life events as well. You don't just have to, just do it 2 or 3 times a year. You can do it as needed as well. It is something that not a lot of people are aware of or do, or they think that like, oh, well, I rang my bell and I did my smudge, so my house is clear. No, you've got to like get in there and do it. Typically these take, 3 to 4 hours. For the average home to do a full space clearing. They're a lot of fun. They help you sort of create a relationship with your home in a way that you didn't have before. You'll notice things that you didn't notice before, and you'll begin to develop this relationship and begin to understand your home's personality, for lack of a better word. Your home is a living, breathing entity, right? Just like you are. Your actual home is your apartment. Wherever it is you live, it is also a living, breathing entity, right? You open and close the doors. Energy moves through. You bring in the groceries. You cook the food. You take out the trash. You poop out the groceries. You flush the toilet. There's this constant dynamism happening in your home. And, you can literally think of your home as an extension of yourself. So space clearing then, when you begin to realize that, becomes a part of, a self-care routine. It becomes, sort of similar to like, how you go get a periodic massage or something like that. Well, you do a periodic space clearing. If you're skeptical, that's fine. I get it. This isn't for everybody, although I think it is. But if you're skeptical, do one room in your house. Just do one room. Pick a room. I'd advise your bedroom probably. So you, just to see, like, do you sleep better? What shifts in an intimate space like that you spend, ideally 8 hours or more per day in. So do one room. And I almost guarantee that you'll be scrambling to do the whole house before you know it. So that's space clearing. That's my method. I didn't give you every last detail because how could I? I would literally need to be next to you and we would do it together. That's how we do space clearings. Should you choose to hire me to do such a thing, I'll come. I'll take a look at your space. I'll bring all the stuff. Okay. I bring my bell. I bring all the salt. I bring the pans. I bring the flowers. I bring it all. Okay. I bring all the goods. And then I'll help you set it up and I'll facilitate the experience for us. I'll be doing it with you. Right. But I'll help you do it and, sort of show you how to do it. You're welcome to call me back. I do have some people that are like, there's no way I'm doing that whole thing again. Come back and do your thing. And so I do have repeat business with this, but really I love showing other people how to do this, encouraging other people how to do this. And then you can do it yourself moving forward. It really is a pretty profound practice, one that's, I can say with great certainty has made my life better. And has made my living environment calmer, more beautiful. And, there's a funny thing that can happen too when you do space clearing in an ongoing way over a long period of time, over many years. The energetics of your house will begin to shift. And, I tend to run what I call temple energy in my house or sanctuary energy in my house, where, my relationship to my home has turned into more of my home is my temple, my home is my sanctuary. So I sort of use those types of vocabulary words around my home as opposed to like, it's just my house. It's this place with all these problems and things I got to fix. No, it's my sanctuary. It's my temple. And so you actually begin to run different energy through your home in a way that, is fresh and inspiring and helps you live your best life, which, isn't that the end game here? That we all are at peace and feel safe and we love our homes, right? This is a process that whether you are rich, super rich with all the money in the world to do and buy whatever you can, or you are poor, you are super poor, you can still clean your house and you can still do a space clearing and you will still get amazing results. Seriously, this process applies to any environment. I've done dorm rooms, I've done homes, I've done offices, I've done all kinds of different spaces. I've done spaces that are like downright haunted. And while this isn't like a proper exorcism process, this is certainly something that will, I don't want to put claims out there about like percentages of, bad juju that, this method will clean your space, like a Lysol commercial, 99.9% of germs, but it's certainly up there in terms of, how it works and what it does. So anyway, if you have any questions, if you have any feedback for me, maybe you've got some process that you've done with space clearing on your own. That's what brought you to this episode. You want to hear what this chick Ara does and with, her clearings. If you've got some other piece of intelligence, I'd love to hear about it for sure. I've got lots of different resource books on this, and, there's a lot of different ways you can think about this process. And this is the one that I use. This is the one that I do. So thanks for listening. Your time is valuable. So is mine. And I'm glad we could spend this time together. I certainly hope it's been helpful, and can't wait to come out with something else next week. Stay tuned next Tuesday. Thanks for listening to the Living Mandala podcast.